There's a certain kind of silence that reclaimed wood carries. Not emptiness but stillness. A quiet echo of where it's been. Wood that once stood tall in the frame of a house, or lay flat across the floor of an old general store, or clung to the side of a barn out in the wind-raked countryside, it never really forgets. You can see it in the patina, in the grain worn soft from decades of use, in the nail holes rusted over like tiny time stamps. And when that wood is pulled from its original place, cut, shaped, reassembled into something like a planter, it brings that whole story with it. Not loud, not flashy, but present, undeniably. A reclaimed wood planter is a living photograph in 3 dimensions. And when it holds soil and plant life, it becomes a full circle, a blend of what once was and what's becoming now. There's something deeply grounding about planters made from reclaimed wood. In a world filled with synthetic materials, plastic molds, and injection-formed containers, these are the quiet rebels. They don't shout to get attention. They just exist with dignity. They're heavy not just in weight but in substance. They make you pause. They make you look. And they make you feel something that's harder to define. A sense of connection, perhaps, to things older than ourselves. The journey starts with salvage. A demolition site. A fallen barn. A stack of discarded pallets behind a warehouse. Boards that would have gone to waste are pulled out and re-examined. They're often rough, caked in dust, sometimes warped or split. But within them, beneath the grime and age, is texture you can't replicate. These pieces have endured storms, held up roofs, been trod upon by boots and paws and hooves. The surface might be sun-bleached, nail-pocked, stained by oil or paint or time. And every single mark tells a story that's still unfolding. Each piece is different. Some are thick and knotty. Others are slim and straight. You might find a plank with an old hinge still bolted on, rusted but holding strong. Or a beam with a single charred corner from some long-forgotten fire. These materials are not defects, they're relics. And they form the foundation for planters that don't just contain life, but speak to it. Once selected, the wood is cleaned. Sometimes it's just a stiff brush and compressed air. Sometimes it's a full sanding, starting rough, ending smooth. But never too smooth. You want to preserve the character. The weathered finish. The subtle curves worn into the edges from years of use. The goal isn't to erase the wood's past, it's to make space for its future. Stray nails are pulled. Staples removed. Splinters softened. Then the shaping begins. Each planter is built deliberately. The cuts are measured, sure, but there's room for instinct. A builder might hold 2 pieces together just to see how they feel before the saw even touches them. Will this knot face outward to show off the twist in the grain? Or inward, where the plant roots will stretch against it? The joinery might be simple, screwed corners reinforced with wood glue. Or it might be traditional, box joints, lap joints, dovetails if the wood is strong enough to hold them. Reinforcements are hidden inside or proudly exposed. Some builders use metal brackets or vintage iron corners salvaged from furniture. Others add subtle embellishments, carved edges, routed grooves, or burnt-in maker's marks on the underside. As the pieces come together, something almost ritualistic happens. The planter takes shape slowly. The weight becomes real. You lift it and feel the heft, the density of age. It doesn't feel like a product. It feels like a piece. When you knock on its side, it doesn't echo. It responds, solid and grounded. Some planters are left raw, untreated, so the wood continues to age naturally, silvery in the sun, deepening with rain. Others are finished in natural oils or beeswax, soaking into the grain, darkening it like wet stone. You'll see deep chocolate tones in old oak, soft gold in longleaf pine, streaks of red in cedar reclaimed from cabin siding. Each wood tells its own story with color alone. And then there's size. Not all reclaimed wood planters are small. While many are crafted to hold a few herbs on a kitchen windowsill, basil, oregano, a sprig of mint, others are substantial. Wide enough to hold tomatoes, peppers, marigolds, or rows of lettuce. Some are built tall for climbing beans or trellised flowers. Some are long and low, meant to sit flush along a patio wall, brimming with grasses that sway in the breeze. Others are square and stout, perfect for succulents or low-growing mosses and ferns. There are even vertical planters, stacked boxes or hanging walls of reclaimed slats, creating living murals of green against brick or stone. Inside, care is taken to make the planter last. Drainage is vital. Small holes are drilled strategically, enough to let water escape, but not so large that soil leaks out. Some makers line the interior with waterproof membranes, heavy-duty plastic, or natural alternatives like coconut coir sheets. Others rely on a second inner pot that nests within the wood shell, protecting it from rot while keeping the look authentic. And even here in the hidden places, details matter. The way the liner is trimmed, the finish of the fasteners, the smoothness of the drilled holes, all of it contributes to the experience of using the planter, not just looking at it. When the soil goes in, dark, rich, warm, the wood responds. It holds a bit of moisture in its grain. It exhales a scent, faint, earthy, slightly resinous. And when the first plant takes root, when that little seedling unfurls its first leaves in the light, the relationship is sealed. This isn't a disposable container. It's a vessel. One made with intention from material that refused to be discarded. These planters live in every kind of space. In apartments, perched on fire escapes, holding lavender and thyme. On balconies, filled with morning glories that climb toward the railing. In suburban gardens, marking the line between lawn and food. In urban cafes, where reclaimed wood blends into the industrial chic aesthetic, and herbs double as kitchen ingredients. In artist studios, where cacti and paintbrushes sit side by side. They blend seamlessly wherever they go, not because they're neutral, but because they're honest. They don't pretend to be modern. They don't try to look manufactured. They just are. And over time they change. The corners soften. The grain darkens. Moss might take root on the edge if the conditions are right. The smell of soil, of growing things, becomes part of the wood itself. And unlike plastic or ceramic or metal, which often crack, fade, or rust, reclaimed wood simply ages. It accepts the process. And in doing so becomes even more beautiful. Some people customize their planters. They add carved initials, inset tiles, rope handles pulled from old boats. Some people burn patterns into the sides, leaf veins, geometric lines, family crests, tribal markings. Others leave them plain, letting the grain do the talking. You'll see ones made from pallet wood, where the planks still show the stamp of where they were shipped from: India, Portugal, Arkansas. You'll see ones made from old furniture, old gym bleachers, factory flooring. One board might have been a church pew. Another might have once held up a stage. And that's the real beauty of it. You're not just planting rosemary or sage. You're planting it in a story. You're giving life to something twice. First, to the seed. Second, to the wood. In that sense, a reclaimed wood planter becomes more than decor. It becomes a philosophy. A quiet argument against waste. Against hurry. Against the disposable mindset that wants everything fast, new, and forgettable. These planters say something else entirely. They whisper, slow down. Look closer. Use what you already have. They speak of a different kind of beauty, one that isn't shiny or flawless but textured, layered, lived in. Because reclaimed wood tells a story. Not a clean, linear one, but a fragmented, weathered, deeply human story. The nail holes, the uneven stain, the worn-down corners, these aren't defects. They're memory. They're the fingerprints of time. That board might have once held up the side of a barn. Or lined a dusty attic. Or supported footsteps in an old farmhouse kitchen. And now it holds something new, a succulent, a fern, a vine slowly reaching toward the sun. That transformation matters. Because it's not just recycling, it's revival. It's taking something forgotten, overlooked, maybe even discarded, and giving it breath again. There's something quietly radical about that. In a world hooked on the next best thing, choosing to work with what already exists is a form of resistance. A form of care. It's not just about sustainability, it's about soul. And the contrast is striking. Inside these old wooden frames, something soft and green begins to grow. Life blooming from age. Tenderness emerging from roughness. Just poetic, really. The kind of juxtaposition that doesn't shout for attention but holds it effortlessly. Set one on a windowsill, a garden bench, a coffee table, and the space shifts. It softens. It breathes. It slows down. What you're seeing isn't just a planter. It's a moment captured in texture, in grain, in weathered wood and winding roots. It's a reminder that beauty doesn't always come from cutting down a new tree or buying something off a shelf. Sometimes, it comes from seeing worth in the overlooked. From honoring the materials that already carry stories, and adding a new one to the mix. If you build one yourself, the connection deepens. You notice the wood in a different way. The way it smells when sanded. The color that peeks through when you clean it up. You get to decide how to fit the pieces together, not to hide the imperfections but to highlight them. You run your fingers along the cracks and realize they're strong. They've held on. And now they'll hold something else. Even just placing a reclaimed wood planter in your home or garden changes the energy of a space. It introduces warmth, honesty, a kind of quiet strength. It's not trying to be modern or rustic or trendy, it just is. And in that raw authenticity, it manages to fit anywhere. On a porch. in a minimalist loft, beside a kitchen sink. It doesn't ask for attention, it earns it. So when you pass by one of these planters, maybe in someone's garden, maybe on your own kitchen counter, stop for a moment. Look at the edges. Follow the grain with your eye. Notice the imperfections. Imagine where that would once stood, who touched it, what it held. And then look at what it holds now. A living thing. A quiet transformation. A story that never really ended, just turned a page. Because in the end, that's what reclaimed wood is. A second chance. A soft return. A reminder that beauty doesn't come from newness. It comes from purpose. From patience. From hands that care enough to bring something forgotten back to life, and let it grow again, in the simplest, most enduring way.